For roughly 50% of the day, the Earth is plunged into absolute pitch-black darkness. If you look at the animal kingdom, the dark is when the real biological warfare happens. The night is not a time of rest for nature. It is a highly active, hyper-lethal hunting ground. Leopards, wolves, and owls are nocturnal assassins. They navigate the pitch black with terrifying precision. And then there is us. We are the apex predators of the planet. We split the atom. We walked on the moon. We mapped the human genome. Yet, if the power goes out in your apartment at 2 in the morning, you are instantly reduced to crawling on the floor, waving your hands around so you don't concuss yourself on a doorframe. Humans have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Our ancestors shared the African savanna with massive night-hunting predators that viewed us as a late-night snack. So why didn't natural selection give us the night vision upgrade? Are humans biologically broken? The answer is that biology is a strict, zero-sum economy. You don't have night vision because of a brutal physiological trade-off, a prehistoric real estate grab, and the greatest technological cheat code in the history of our species. To understand why you can't see in the dark, you have to understand what seeing in the dark actually means. Nobody, not even a panther, can see in absolute 100% darkness. Eyes do not project sight, they only capture light. Seeing in the dark is entirely about being a highly efficient photon scavenger. It is about catching the faintest, microscopic scraps of ambient moonlight and starlight and multiplying them into an image. And to do that, you have to look at the human eyeball. The back of your eye is lined with a biological screen called the retina. Your retina only has a finite amount of physical real estate, and it has to split that space between two very different types of light-sensing cells. We call them rods and cones. Rods are your biological night vision goggles. They are incredibly sensitive to light and motion. A single rod cell can react to a single photon of light, but rods have a very low spatial acuity, and they only see the world in grainy black and white silhouettes. Cones, on the other hand, are your 4K Ultra HD color sensors. They require a massive amount of bright daylight to function, but when they have it, they give you razor-sharp detail and a vibrant spectrum of colors. Biology forces every animal to choose a side. The average human retina contains roughly 92 million rods, but only about 4.6 million cones. You might hear that and think we should have great night vision, but the distribution of those cells is a massive biological paradox. The dead center of your vision, a tiny area called the central fovea, is completely rod-free. It is populated exclusively by cones, reaching a peak density that averages 199,000 cones per square millimeter. Because the very center of your eye only contains daylight-hungry cones, you have a literal blind spot to darkness right in the middle of your visual field. If you walk outside tonight and look directly at a faint star, it will completely disappear. If you look slightly to the side of it, letting the light hit the rods on the outer edges of your retina, the star reappears. We essentially have tunnel vision, with a blurry, highly sensitive periphery, and we just move our eyes so fast that our brains hallucinate a perfectly rendered world. If you want to be a true nocturnal hunter, you cannot build an eye like ours. You have to pack your retina almost entirely with rods, sacrificing color and sharp detail. You also have to add a biological mirror behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum. This is what makes an animal's eyes glow green or yellow in the headlights of a car. When a stray photon of moonlight enters a cat's eye, it passes through the rods. If it misses a rod, it hits that mirror and bounces back through the retina a second time, giving the eye a second chance to catch the light. But bouncing light around inside the eyeball scatters it. It makes the image inherently blurry. Evolution forced a choice on our ancestors. You can have perfect, razor-sharp, high-definition resolution in the bright daylight, or you can have a blurry, glowing mirror that lets you see in the dark. You cannot have both. Millions of years ago, our primate ancestors made their choice. To survive in dense green jungle canopies, we went all in on cones. We gave up our ability to see in the dark, so we could experience a vibrant, full-colour, high-resolution world during the day. You don't have night vision because you traded it for the ability to see a pretty sunset. Now, your deepest mammalian ancestors actually did have incredible night vision. If we rewind the evolutionary clock 225 million years to the late Triassic period, the daytime real estate on Earth was completely monopolized by massive reptiles and dinosaurs. If a small early mammal tried to go out foraging at noon, it was instantly spotted and eaten. To survive, early mammals were forced into what evolutionary biologists call the nocturnal bottleneck. We hid in the shadows during the day and only came out at night. For roughly 160 million years, our ancient ancestors were highly adapted to the dark. We stayed in the shadows for so long that our biology was permanently altered. We literally lost the genetic ability to produce gadusol, which is a chemical compound that acts as a biological sunscreen in fish and reptiles. Because we were operating exclusively in the dark, the DNA repair mechanisms that relied on visible daylight to fix cellular damage completely broke down in placental mammals. We also lost our complex colour vision, leaving most mammals with extremely limited, practically colour-blind sight. But the dark gave us something else. Because early mammals couldn't rely on sight, evolution drastically expanded our auditory and olfactory processing centres. We traded our eyes for highly advanced ears and noses. Our brains became uniquely wired to process sound and smell in a way that reptiles never achieved. Then, 66 million years ago, a 6-mile-wide asteroid slammed into the Gulf of Mexico. The dinosaurs were wiped off the face of the Earth. Suddenly, the daytime ecological niche was completely empty. There were no massive predators waiting in the sun. So, our surviving mammalian ancestors moved out of the shadows and boldly claimed the daylight. But we were still functionally colour-blind. How did we get our colour vision back? Millions of years later, early primates experienced a literal genetic accident. An opsin gene on the X chromosome duplicated. This biological copy and paste error mutated, giving us a third type of cone, restoring trichromatic, 3-colour vision. Evolution kept this genetic accident for one highly specific reason. Developing a massive, highly intelligent primate brain requires an astronomical amount of daily calories. Colour vision was the key to unlocking the highest density sugar packets in the jungle. Evolution is a strict use it or lose it system. Over millions of years, the genes that maintained that reflective mirror in our eyes mutated and were discarded, and our visual hardware was completely overhauled for the sun. But millions of years after the dinosaurs died, early humans moved out of the safe jungle canopies and down onto the open land. This was a massive biological problem. The savannah was packed with hyperlethal night-hunting predators. We were sharing the grass with saber-toothed cats, massive packs of wild dogs, and giant hyenas. We were incredibly slow. We completely lacked claws or natural armor, and as soon as the sun went down, we were completely blind. From a purely Darwinian perspective, this extreme, unrelenting danger should have forced humans to re-evolve night vision. The evolutionary pressure was back on. The humans with slightly better low-light vision should have survived, while the blind ones got eaten in their sleep, slowly pushing our biology back into the dark over hundreds of thousands of years. So why didn't that happen? Because we cheated. Around 1 to 2 million years ago, Homo erectus did something no other animal in the history of the planet had ever done. They domesticated fire. Instead of waiting 500,000 years for random genetic mutations to slowly rebuild the rods in our retinas and reconstruct a tapetum lucidum, we just built our own artificial suns. Fire gave us light to see, warmth against the freezing savanna nights, and a terrifying, unpredictable weapon that kept nocturnal predators far away from our camps. But fire did something even more profound. It created the concept of the evening. We are the only species on Earth that willingly delays sleep after the sun goes down. Instead of huddling in the dark in absolute silence, early humans sat around the campfire. We used that extended, artificially lit time to cook our food, which unlocked massive amounts of calories for our brains. We used that time to socialize, to build complex tools, and to tell stories. The campfire completely rewired human culture and cognition. The moment humans mastered fire, we completely halted the evolutionary pressure to develop night vision. We built a technological shield against natural selection. We just outsourced the problem to our technology. So why didn't evolution give humans night vision? Because evolution does not build superheroes, it builds survivors. You are blind in the dark because your mammalian ancestors survived the reign of the dinosaurs by hiding in the shadows for 160 million years, and then aggressively claimed the daylight the very second the asteroid hit. And ultimately, you are blind in the dark because the second the night became dangerous again, we refused to wait for evolution to save us.